If you're just joining us, people like it or not, would like to know. Okay.
Hi, Nancy.
Yeah, hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. I think Ruth and Kende are in the lobby as well,
Yes.
waiting for us to
Just let
start.
me know when to add them.
Okay. Are we live?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Nancy Olisakwe, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. It's going to be a very inspiring and insightful webinar as we'll be reflecting on the achievements of the women who are reshaping the landscape of technology and business process outsourcing leadership in Africa and the world at large. Please would like to know where you're joining us from. Please do well to put your location in the comment section. Would like to know your name and where you're joining us from. If you're just joining us, feel free to drop your name and your location in the comment section. Oh, hi. Hi. This is someone from South Africa. Thank you. Please drop your location and name. Hi, Timmy. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Please would like to hear more from the people who just joined. If you're just joining, please drop your name and your location. Greetings from Nigeria. All right. I would like to introduce the quintessential ladies who will be the panelists for today's webinar. We've got Ruth Maposa joining us all the way from South Africa. Hi, Ruth. Are you in the room now? Oh, I see. Good to see you, Ruth. Can you please say hi? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Hello.
Hi,
Joining
welcome.
from South Africa.
Okay, interesting. Welcome, Ruth. And we have also Kayande. She's joining us all the way from Iceland. Hi, Kayande. Can you say hello to us, please? So we'll show
Hi.
your.
Hello,
Okay,
everyone.
good.
So nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I see more people are joining from all over the world. Thank you so much. You may be wondering who are these ladies, and I'm gonna give you a brief background of who these wonderful ladies are. They are high achievers. I'll be starting with Kainde. She is a dynamic professional with almost a decade of experience spanning across technology, sustainability, academia, and aviation across Africa, Europe, and North America. Kinde is known as Impact Freak. She excels in simplifying complex problems to maximize impact for organizations and communities. She is also the founder of Girls for Leadership initiatives. She's empowering young women for leaderships, and she's also curator of the Leadership Chronicle. It is a platform for self-leadership insights. She's actually pioneering research on Black women entrepreneurship in Iceland, and she has gained worldwide recognition. You're welcome, Kende.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here as well.
Welcome. And also we have Ruth Maposa. She is a dynamic leader in impact investments, project management, a digital transformation specialist, and she's dedicated to unlocking Africa's potential through innovation and sustainable development. As the founder of Itavo Group, she built inclusive, sustainable digital villages that empowers African youth and women while fostering ethical growth. She also serves as a program specialist at 22 on Salon, helping startups and SMEs access funding and markets, and as a sustainability and ESG consultant for the mining sector at E&M Advisory. She is a UN system staff college support staff as well, and she's done so well in the sector for herself. Welcome, Ruth.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So I think we'll go to the meat of the discussion. We would be going into the details of discussing how these great women, high achievers, actually making the desired change in our society. But before then, would like to recognize the presence of Timi Obaseki. He is the CEO and founder of Agile BPO, the organizer of this special event. He'll be giving us a few words about the great things they are doing at Agile. Thank you so much, Timi. You have the floor now.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Ruth, Kende, and everyone joining us. Quick apologies for the technical glitch. For some reason, LinkedIn Live is not streaming at the moment, but we're on YouTube. So we've shared the link with our prospective viewers. So we expect more people to join us, but we won't allow that dampen our spirit because this stream would be recorded and people can come back and still gain a lot of insights. Yes, good evening again. It's my immense pleasure to welcome you all to today's webinar, Accelerating Action, Women Driving Innovation in Tech and BPO Leadership. On behalf of the entire team at Agile Business Support Services Limited, I extend my gratitude to each of you for taking the time to join us for this significant event. This webinar holds a special place in our hearts as we celebrate the incredible achievements of women who are not just contributing to the evolution of technology and the BPO industry, but are leading it. Their innovation, resilience, and leadership continue to reshape industries and challenge outdated paradigms. It is both inspiring and humbling to have such trailblazers in our midst today. So, Ruth, Kende, and indeed Nancy, we are honored to have you in our midst. And through you, we celebrate all the wonderful ladies doing great stuff out there. Accelerating action is not just about, speaking the grammar, tracking towards gender equality, but actually putting action behind the words. And at Agile, we embody this. I always like to say that the Agile women are actually the Agile leaders, right? And in terms of percentage of leadership and even entire company structure, we have very good parity and we go beyond parity. But because we do not want to just keep, doing the old thing of putting out the numbers and saying all that without actual action, right? We would not go into that this evening. This event is not just about discussion, it's about action. It's about amplifying voices, sharing ideas, and sparking connections that drive tangible change. Our esteemed panelists today are pioneers in their fields, and their insights promise to be thought-provoking and empowering. I encourage everyone to actively participate, ask questions, share perspectives, and connect with other participants. Let's make this as interactive and impactful as possible. We are deeply committed at Agile to fostering environments where innovation and inclusivity thrive. This webinar reflects that commitment, and it is our hope that you will leave today not only inspired, but also equipped to continue breaking barriers, shattering, the ceilings and the glass walls, and accelerating progress. Once again, thank you for honoring us with your presence. And now let's dive into what promises to be an insightful and transformative discussion. All right, ladies, take it away. I will go backstage where I belong and let you have your time.
Thank you so much, Timmy, for that insightful speech. You really opened the gate for us to have very, very rich discussion. We'll drive straight into the meat of the discussion, and I'll be directing my first question to Ruth. Ruth, when you have a big sister in the house, it's easy for you to easily reference and say, oh, I've got someone to support me. So you have actually been a champion in empowering youths through technology, and you've also had kind of create a platform to inspire other young champions in your community. Um, how do you think we can actually replicate this particular measure across Africa?
Thank you so much for that question, Nancy. I think my journey has been one of of note for me because it's full of women really that are supporting me and holding me up, but also not just women, but men in my life also are holding me up as well. So I
Mhm,
think one thing that I do think that we really need to look at when we're looking at accelerating the type of impact that we want to make when it comes to having more women in the tech space. We
mhm,
would be looking at just that creating that environment that is enabling for women to come out of their shells, to be able to actually take that first stab at their tech ventures or even just learning about technology. I think it's also very important to, as people that are experienced and seasoned in this space, to have people that are open to teaching and transferring those skills and everything that they have learned in their journeys as well. Because I am the product of my village. And if I can tell you what Itavo stands for, it stands for It Takes a Village organization. And
mhm,
that just means that it will take a village for us to be able to see the impact that we're trying to see within the space. And when you look at me, I am a product of that village. So that's what I am also trying to create, a space where young people can find themselves, they can recognize themselves, and they can seek support when it comes to that. But when we're also looking at an enabling environment, we need to look at having people that having systems and structures that are also very encouraging for technology, for women to participate in technology as well. So I think if I can start it off at that pace,
yeah.
yeah, I'll then just hand it over back to you.
I really like how you put it, because in Africa we actually believe in communal living, and once you're able to work together, and then you're able to make big change. I also like the fact that you mentioned that it's very, very important to take the first step in learning. Okay. Thank you so much, Ruth. Kainde, the next question will be addressed to you. I know you're an advocate for Black women in business in Iceland. What are the most pressing women challenges, and how can we address them?
Thank you so very much, Nancy. And perhaps allow me to also wish you happy International Women's Day. To every like woman out there that is like pushing the frontier and that is like making our voices heard, and that is opening the pathway for other women to follow. Big cheers
Mhm,
to every woman out there. I think we deserve the accolades, even if it's just a day that we're taking it out of the 365 days in a year or 366 days, right? We deserve that accolade. So to dive straight into your topic, or rather into the question that you had asked me. So when we talk about like women in business in Iceland, and when we now make it a more um, very minute group in terms of like the Black women in Iceland that are entrepreneurs, um, it's something that is very interesting to me and that I'm really passionate about. Maybe bad because I'm also black, so it just
yeah,
makes sense that I'm really excited to research about this group of people and to understand, some of the challenges that they face. So interestingly, when I came to Iceland to settle in Iceland, um, So one of those things I notice is that we have like very few Black women as entrepreneurs, and compared to other places that I've been to, that I've lived, even outside of Africa, you always find Black women doing things because we are nurtured to be women who take spaces, sort of like when we need to take spaces. And I'm talking about spaces in terms of in good terms, making things happen, contributing to the economy of our country or wherever that we are from, or wherever that was settled in. So there's this ideology of Black women being strong and doing a lot of things, and all of these things are true, and that's what like make us unique in terms of like when you go into the uniqueness of like of persons, maybe in relations to their culture or to just how they've grown up to be. But the direct opposite is the case in Iceland. We have Black women as entrepreneurs and they're doing amazingly well, but we have very few of them. However, I'm not going to ignore the fact that we do have a small group of Black women in Iceland. But regardless of this, when you look at the percentage of women who are Black in Iceland versus women who are entrepreneurs in Iceland, it gives you the narrative that there is a challenge somewhere that is stopping women from getting into entrepreneurship. So my extensive research on this group suggests like a number of things that aside from the general challenges that migrant entrepreneurs face in Iceland or in many other places, Black women in particular face some unique challenges. And one of the major challenges they face is starting up the business. There are some hurdles that they have to face when setting up their businesses in Iceland. Take for instance, Iceland is it's the official language is Icelandic, and for anyone who is willing to settle long time in Iceland, it is expected that you learn the language, and it's normal everywhere. But learning languages as adults sometimes takes like time. It's not something that is so easy to do. So most often, a lot of like the process of setting up the businesses are available in Icelandic. In some cases, there's some information that are available in English and in Polish, which is like one of the other major groups in Iceland, right? But aside from the language barrier, which like does not encourage a lot of persons to want to set up businesses because they're thinking of the long term. Will I be able to meet my target audience when I'm not able to really converse in the official language? But aside this, the cost of setting up business is another thing on its own when you compare it to other countries. So in Iceland, you are required to have like a 500,000 Icelandic krona to like incorporate your business, and that's not like super convenient for a lot of like entrepreneurs to put down to set up or incorporate your business. And for Black women in particular, aside from the money to incorporate their business, they also need translators. They need help of translators or business agents to put them through because a lot of this information are heavily in Icelandic. And if you don't want to miss your way, you need to hire like a business agent to put you through the registration process. And they also need a tax agent as well, just to get their taxes done well and in order. So this accumulates to a lot of like extra needed capital to set up their businesses. So that's one of those major why a lot of Black women are not getting into entrepreneurship in Iceland. And I think on the long run, for other groups that have already set up their businesses, like Black women that have set up their business, one of those common challenges that my research was able to identify is that this group are unable to assess the needed finances in terms of like investment opportunities or grants to help scale up their businesses. And in general terms, in investment world, like women already face like some sort of barriers or challenges when assessing funds. Then when you now mirror down the group down to Black women, it now makes it even much more challenging, right, to assess these grants and or investment opportunities. So a lot of Black women businesses in Iceland do not necessarily have those grants available, and a lot of them are not even aware of availability of this, grants and investment opportunities, right? So there's this seclusion of information accessibility as well. And to also add to that, there's also the issue of Black women not being able to effectively network as effectively needed to expand their business or to grow their businesses, right? And one of those things that could warrant that is like the language barrier. And as well, because of the difference in, skin color, and sometimes there could be systemic racism, so you're not able to be in places that you're supposed to be in to get to meet people that would necessarily help your business. And I think I'll finally summarize this with one other challenge of
Hi,
the
Kende.
security.
Can you hear us? Okay, we can hear you now.
Oh, was I okay? Can I continue?
Yes, please, you can
I
proceed.
was
We
just going to
lost you for a
summarize
bit.
this last point. I know there's a lot of like challenges I identified, but I'll try to summarize this last one to say
Okay.
that. So sometimes when you have Black women own businesses versus other businesses, there's a lot of seclusion in terms of clientele base. So a lot of like the clients that comes to Black women own businesses are like migrant groups or Black women or Black men, that group. And there's a seclusion of, people who are outside the Black race not going to them. So it affects the business. So on the
Mm,
long run, I mean, these are challenges that hopefully in nearest future or even now, there will be solutions to.
mm. Interesting. Following part of what you mentioned, they have the women in Iceland have challenge with finance, access to finance, and also language barriers. And like you mentioned, also the skin tone, the skin color is an added source of barrier. And we hope that we'll be able to, through the good work you're doing in Iceland, we'll be able to bring a change to that. Um, so we'll move on to Ruth. In Africa, we actually operate some sort of naked family structure. By naked family, I mean that most women are being required to be directed on what to do. They are being told this sector is not for you. This kind of job role is not for you. How can we ensure that women in underserved communities have access to the tools and training needed to thrive in tech, innovation, and even also do businesses that will kind of enrich them and improve their shared prosperity?
Thank you so much for that, Nancy. I think it's quite interesting when we're looking at women, especially in underserved communities, when we're looking at issues such as access to digital infrastructure, when we're looking at issues such as just the social norms of women within those communities. They may not be allowing for them to participate actively within this tech ecosystem. And when you're looking at the statistics of the access of women's access to internet, I was quite shocked when I found out that only 22%, I think about 22% of women in Africa have access to internet, which is it's quite shocking. And when you're now talking about digital transformation and having technology to access areas such as those, you start to think about, okay, how can I go and tell a mother who has a lot of children or who has children, just children, to forego feeding her children so that she can pay for data to manage her business online. So now, when we start talking about addressing challenges that women in underserved communities are facing, we need to really look at what are those real challenges, and not just looking at it from a perspective of them accessing that technology, but also the environment, their context, that plays quite a big role in terms of their participation within this tech ecosystem. And then when we're looking at Hi, it seems I might have lost you for a second. Can you hear me?
Can
Hi,
you hear me,
Nancy.
Ruth?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Yes,
you.
yes.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please. Mm.
All right. It seems I might have lost you for a second. But when we start to address those challenges, we need to look at how do we collectively come together to start addressing these challenges. And when we are looking at it from a government perspective, then we're looking at how do we start building infrastructure within these underserved communities to bridge that gap in terms of digital access. And then when we're looking at actually the context, the contextual issues, the societal issues that women are facing within these communities. How do we start creating enabling environments such that we have this village coming together to actually start supporting women within this space, and then we also look at private sector. When we're looking at private sector initiatives, I remember at where I work at 22 on Sloan currently, we have these digital access, market access programs for entrepreneurs in township communities. And some of the challenges that we have faced are quite interesting, where you'll find that in terms of just populating an online form, it's quite a challenge, and you have multiple back and forths with an entrepreneur for them to populate this form. So this problem is not just a women specific problem of having digital literacy within these communities. It's a community wide problem. So how do we start addressing these challenges? And I think in terms of how I see it panning out is just that collaborative impact, that collaborative action where we all come together and we say, okay, these issues that we are facing, these issues that we're faced with, how do we start breaking it down such that we create actionable steps for us to see the impact, to see the technology cascading into these underserved areas. And when you're looking at where the world is going in the next couple of years, everyone is required to be digital. And when you're looking at businesses in terms of them scaling, they're required to be digital. So now you have to start looking at, before this step of telling people you need to start adopting technology, how do we address their everyday problems such that they are able to then be willing be willing participants when it comes to adopting technology.
Interesting. You've said so much, and the statistic you mentioned about the women who have access to digital communication is quite alarming. I have a personal experience. I'd gone to a village in northern Nigeria to do an outreach, and I think I had close to 100 participants. About 70 were women, and almost 50 of them didn't have access to phone. So it's a reality that is upon us. Some of the challenges, it's not that they can't afford it. Some are cultural biases, against the women. But then we, like you mentioned, we need to collaborate and take actionable steps, right? Thank you so much, Ruth, for that insight. Kinde, I'm back to you right now. We know, despite the challenges, I've always been an advocate that the challenge is actually the way. If we look at it critically, where the problem is, that is where the solution lies, right? So, are there women in Iceland that have been able to break these barriers in business and in tech, or in business BPOs? And what lessons can we actually learn from their journey?
Thank you so much, Nancy, for that question. As much as we are talking about problems, I love the fact that we're also equating it with, practical examples of people who have gone ahead of this, and despite the odds, they've made, remarkable achievements. They've been able to change the narrative. And definitely, like I said, we have Black women in entrepreneurship and business here in Iceland that are doing amazingly well. But however, they're very minute of them. I mean, a handful of them, you can easily count a few of them. And not to so much mention names and put people on spots, and not cover other persons. I'd rather just speak mainly on some of the observations that I noticed that these people, these amazing women, have demonstrated in being able to, break these barriers and, be the renowned names that they are in the business world here in Iceland. So one of those very important thing I noticed is their ability to, you know, network and build a community for themselves. So I understand that, especially when you are in a minority group, like a black person in a white dominant society, there's always this challenge of getting into or breaking into the midst of like the wider group. But as women of color or black origin, pushing ourselves beyond, like showing up, is really important to break those challenges to like achieve the status of um, a woman that is doing well in a business. So I notice or observe in some of these other women that have been able to do well is that they've been able to network effectively as necessary. Doing they join associations, like for instance, there's this association called the FKL in Iceland for women. It's a women association for women in businesses. So joining such associations have remarkably helped some of these black women to sort of like meet other persons, other women, particularly in business, and to also advance their businesses. Aside from this, I also would mention the key role of the language itself. So many of these women, black women that have like gone ahead to build a business for themselves here in Iceland, they've been able to command the Icelandic language, and that has been really helpful in expanding their businesses and growing their client base, and also mingling with other Icelandic persons. And I think that's like one of those things that other Black women should embrace to also be well established and grounded. I think another one I would add to it is expanding their knowledge base and seeking for opportunities. As much as we could say that there are challenges or biases against um, women of color in assessing all of this opportunities like investment, we owe it to ourselves to also push forth and say we demand it, speak up, right? And say we also need to assess this because I can do this and I can achieve this. So I think, in short, all of these three things that I've mentioned have contributed to helping some of the Black women entrepreneurs here in Iceland.
I really like how you put it. You mentioned showing up is really very important, and also joining circles that would help you break these barriers. I've always been an advocate of collaboration over competition. By the time you join other women and you learn faster because you're collaborating, you're not just working alone. Because when you work alone, you won't go so far, or at least you won't go fast. Okay. I've always also believed that when women support women, right, we're able to actually make giant leaps, right? Um, what roles do you think that mentors can actually play in helping other Black women navigate through these barriers of listed, and how can we excel in tech and also in businesses in and around the world? Hi,
I
Ruth.
think the question is to me.
It's to Ruth. Hi, Ruth. Yeah. Do I repeat the question? Did you hear me?
Uh, yeah, please do come again. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I was saying that when women help women, great changes have been made and societal impact have been felt. So I'm asking, how can mentorship play a significant role in helping Black women navigate and excel in tech and businesses?
Okay, thank you so much. I think I like to point a lot to my personal experiences because they make it so relatable to the experience. And I am a product of mentorship. I think without mentorship being a key pillar in my life, a lot of direction would have been lost. But beyond that, I think it has helped to shape confidence. And when now we're looking at the role that mentorship can play when it comes to supporting women in the tech space, I think the first step is to create that confidence booster. I think one of the challenges that I faced when starting my business and just getting myself actively involved within the tech space was confidence, and surrounding myself with people that really knew what they were doing and people that were willing to teach really helped to get me to that point where I was confident enough to actually take on technology as one of my key interests. I'm an artist. So I think going to technology, a lot of people kept on asking, is this sure what you want to do? It's what you want to do. And I think when I look at it, when I look back and I see the role that mentorship can play when it comes to supporting women within tech, I think it's part of that village. And you know, within a village, there are village elders, those that guide and that teach and that pass down the learnings that they've had within their various life experiences. And I think it's just that when we take on that model of passing down knowledge, transferring skills, transferring um, those elements that can take a person to the next step, it's really key when we are trying to unlock the potential of women within the tech space. I like to look at it from a point of there's a wagon in a village. It's a very short story, so please do humor me. Where there's a wagon in a village that was built by women that predated that current time, and when now it came for the wagon to move from point A to point B, the older elderly women within that village were unable to take the wagon from point A to point B. However, what they did was to teach the younger women how to build this wagon, and how to actually make sure that it stays strong as they were trying to get it from point A to point B. And same thing, they taught them how to teach and how to pass down those lessons to the children that they were going to take from point A to point B. So it's pretty much like that, where uh once the wagon starts to fall apart in the journey, these women that have been taught by those that built, they're able to then now fix the wagon and keep it moving. But also in them fixing this wagon and making it move and showing the younger ones that are within the wagon how to fix this thing and take it from point A to point B. They, if they're unable to get to destination B, the children that they have taught will be able to then drag the wagon, carry it if they have to, or even fix it while they're on their journey, and even innovate to come up with new ways to get this wagon from point A to point B. So I think that it's the same when we look at it from a perspective of how do we get mentorship to play that role within supporting women within the tech space and encouraging women to come to the party when it comes to participating in any tech initiatives. It's that element. The wagon is the technology. It's that technology space that women that have predated us, our elder sisters, our mothers, our grandmothers, those that pushed the boundaries for us to be able to find ourselves in these spaces, they have also passed down. I think I can truly say that I have benefited from lessons that I've learned from women around me, and I am implementing them in this journey to get to point B. And you can see that in mentorship, even as I work with startups and with SMMEs within another capacity. I've seen the impact that mentorship has. It's that skills transfer. It helps to really take that wagon from point A to point B. So it's a crucial element when it comes to the journey of a young woman to find herself in a space where she's confident enough to either start a business or to actually have a profession when it comes to technology.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Ruth. I really love the analogy you give, the wagon analogy. It's a beautiful way to explain the impact of a mentor in the life of the young STEMers or people who are trying to get into business. Like we love to say in Nigeria, follow who no road. You know, when you have someone who already has a roadmap, it's easier for you to actually deliver faster and actually achieve your goals because you've got a role model, you've got someone to look up to, and you've got someone to ask questions when you're lost, you know. So I really love the analogy you shared. Okay, so I'm back to you, Kende. Um, as part of the quotes in one of Barack Obama's book is "Yes, you can." Right. So typically, as a enthusiast, how can we encourage more Black women to pursue career in STEM field, especially in regions where they are very, very underrepresented?
Thank you, Nancy, for that question. And I think I'll pick up the baton from where Ruth had initially stopped, which is on mentorship. I think mentorship also plays a big role in terms of like encouraging other women to get into STEM, right?
Yeah.
So when you are able to see someone and you could find in them something that interests you and you want to be like them, and that person is willing to, share tips with you and help you guide you through the the line in achieving your dream. I think that's one of the biggest ways to sort of like encourage other people to get into STEM or be involved in tech. Aside from mentorship, which is like we all have stated and agreed to help like more women in tech. I think another part of is deliberate um, curation of strategic interventional programs by organizations or institutions to actively encourage young women or girls to get into STEM. There's this misconception, right, from a lot of like cultures, particularly non-Western cultures, about what women can do in terms of like, especially when it comes to the field of study, right? There's just this assumption normally that goes into unconsciously. I don't know. Sometimes when you do things over time, it becomes a part of you. So I want to believe that unconsciously we've embraced that sort of like very non good way of like bringing up like our girls to want to do things that are more feminine and not to want to get into STEM that people think or assume to be more masculine. So I think deliberately having such programs in place that sort of like encourages young women go a long way. So some of those interventional projects or programs could be like boot camps, introducing girls to what they can achieve in the line of STEM, right? And even women as well. So it's not necessarily that women need or other girls need to have gone through a specific science discipline in school before they can actually begin to practice it in their normal life. I, for instance, I have a background in the social science field, but in my career, in my line of work, I was, I'm happy and I'm thankful to God that I found my path in tech, right? In my career, in my line of work, like a lot of those things I've done in a couple of years have revolved around the tech world. So I believe like telling my story to other women who necessarily do not have like a background in the STEM from their academic background, being able to also venture into tech or the STEM in broad afterwards is also like a good way to also encourage other women or girls to venture into STEM. I would add this advocacy is also important on social media platforms and everywhere else, just saying the significance of like women and girls being involved in this line of work or in the academic field.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kainde. I like how you lay down most of the actions that can be taken, mentorship, deliberate intervention by all stakeholders, and also holding both camps. I also like the fact that you mentioned that our background shouldn't be a deterrent to us venturing into STEM. Like we can actually take the bold leap and then also prosper in the sector. Thank you so much for that insight. So I'll be moving on to Ruth, and then the question I want to ask is, what advice do you have for young women who want to start their own tech, who want to start their own businesses, like do business, but then they feel held back by systemic barriers, be it cultural, be it finance, and all? What advice do you think they can actually take and would that will help liberate them from that kind of mindset?
Okay, thank you so much for that. And maybe if I can just think about when I reflect and I think about the advice that I would have for someone who might be finding themselves in the place where I found myself like a couple of years ago. I would say resilience is the first thing that really comes to my mind. You know, the journey is not easy, and resilience doesn't mean that you will never fall down. It means that you are having the strength to keep going when it gets tough. It's that ability that you need to have to push through those moments of that self-doubt, that uncertainty, and the fear of failure, and for you to trust that your efforts will pay off in the end. And I would also just like to go back to something that Kainde mentioned earlier, where she was saying that confidence is a big thing when it comes to women starting ventures. And it's something that I can attest to and say that it was one of the key things that stopped me from starting my business a while ago. And so when I look at how the process of building resilience looks like, it's one where really you will look at yourself and you will say, okay, it's just you and me, and we have to really make it through. And I'm talking about this as my business and myself. We really have to make this thing work. And so what are those characteristics that I need to have to make this thing work? And also, what do I need around me to make it work? So it would be having a support system, a village that will support you, and alongside that self-education, because for me also self-education was something that really took me to that point of actually understanding that, oh, actually I like tech. When you look at I laugh about this, but a lot of people ask me, you started with psychology, now you're in technology. How is where's the connection? You seem like a confused human being, but not entirely. It's one of those things where when you have a hold of your own educational journey, you start to map out what your interests are. You start to map out some of those things that you're very strong at, and you start to see some of the challenges and the problems that are going on around you, and you try to find solutions for those. And I find solutions in education, and not just the formal go to college, get a degree, but getting clued up in terms of getting courses. There are a lot of free courses online that people can take on. Find something that you like, find a course that can cement that thing that you like, and start working towards actually applying that. And then the third thing would then be that mentorship. Get yourself good mentors, people that really will keep you accountable to your goals and your dreams, people that will keep you accountable to yourself, because it's very hard for you to keep going when there's no one telling you, hey, you have this to submit, hey, you have this to submit. I also love because I have a mentor who would say, look, you have too many ums. And I know if she's joining us today, she's probably counting the number of ums I have said today in this panel discussion. But she has helped me to keep accountable in terms of just self-development, and in terms of just making myself that someone who's presentable to the world. She's also helped me to kind of like shape my vision as well, because she found me when I was fresh out of university. And then there are other mentors that have come along on this journey that have added on to this as well, and have really brought me out of my shell. So find a mentor that you can relate to. Find a mentor who can make it fun as well, because the mentorship journey is not easy. You will be told
Mm,
so many things that you don't like to hear, but you have to take it like
absolutely.
a champ. So find someone who can make it fun and make it interesting for you to stay on that course. And I think the last thing would be get in touch with that connection with your faith. For me, the faith thing has been really the thing that has kept my foundation, and is keeping me standing. So find that spiritual connection, that your spirituality. Make sure that you are well in all areas of your life, including spirituality, including your mental wellness, including your physical, your social, and your spiritual wellness. Make sure that you are well in those areas. And yeah, just keep going, and when it gets tough, just keep on doing it. I like the Nike um statement where they say just do it, and I
That's
add
good.
an anyway at the end, where you say just do it anyway.
Just
When
it.
it gets tough, just do it anyway.
Hmm. Those are powerful words from you, Ruth. And I think we can run a masterclass on those brief points you've mentioned. And I'm telling you, it's gonna go a long way. Thank you so much for those insights. I also like to add that imposter syndrome has always been a problem for women. You just feel, oh, I'm not enough. Oh, I can't do it. They know how to do it better, you know. But then we just need to brace up and do it. Don't worry about naysayers. Don't get yourself boxed up in one box thinking, oh, this is what people know me for before now, and this is what I must do. The world is evolving, and technology is the new gold. All right, so embracing it early is actually very, very critical. So we've got a lot of comments in the chat box. I see bullseye. Okay, I see Anne. Anne says, find what you enjoy and make a living while at it. Thank you so much, Anne. Yes, someone said, Timmy said, confidence to start, resilience to stay the course. Very, very important. Thank you. Means that our audience are really following in. Okay, since we've got some men in the room, um, I would, if you have, let's say we have to ask them a few things. They say a closed mouth is a closed destiny, you know. And since we have the men in the room, we've got our husbands, we've got brothers, we've got bosses in the room. If we were to say a few words to them, what will be that thing would ask for from them that would really make us to kind of advance in our career? Like, what kind of support do we really need from the male allies in our community or in our offices or in everything that we do? Kehinde, this question is for you.
Thank you so much,
Hi,
Nancy.
Kehinde, can you?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and
Okay,
clear.
yeah, thank you.
So thank you for raising
Yes,
that
please.
point. I mean, it's a very crucial part of like when we're talking about women's visibility or women growing and etc. The thing is, we can never do it alone. So God has created a world where He has, added different persons, and we have to work collectively with one another, to achieve our goals. So one of the mantras that I usually say at the initiative that I founded, Girls for Your Initiative, is to say that women and like boys and men are allies. Like we cannot do without them to achieve what we need to achieve. So that's why in a lot of our programs, we actually ensure that we have men and boys, even on the team itself. And sometimes I think I've gotten that question when someone says, "Oh, you are Girls for Leadership Initiative. Why am I seeing a guy on your team?" And I'm like, "Okay, we understand why, because I mean, it takes someone who looks more like you to convince you better. And that's why I usually say that for people here in Iceland, for women here in Iceland, it is easier for them to see a black person and see them doing great thing and say, I want to be like them, rather than to see like someone who is of another race and say I want to be like them, right? So I think we need men and boys as much as possible to, be a part of it. When we're celebrating Women's Day, we need to see more men. And I love the fact that we have men feminists as well. Like when I say feminism, I'm talking about people who are really advancing for equality, who are advancing for equity, who just want a better world for everyone, right? So I think it's a great part of it, and there are a lot of like initiatives that are out there already. That I know a lot of governmental and non-governmental organizations have put in place to sort of balance that equation of involving men and boys in the process of advancing for women and girls' rights. So yeah, a big call out to every male figure out there, either you're a boy or a man, know this that you're a great part of us and we cannot do without you. So this is a plea that in your small ways, in any little ways, either in your community or even in your social organization, even when you're with your friends, I mean you're with your male friends, sometimes just they hearing these things from you could go a long way to helping another family be settled, right? Or they hearing it from you could help another male child or another male somewhere else to do what they're supposed to do, to make things better. And I think I want to say this that in a lot of my research in the intersectional feminism and generally in the gender studies, I've noticed that sometimes women are also used as gatekeepers for the patriarchal system. So when you talk about some very hot behaviors or cultural norms that are perpetrated against women, you will find that it's women themselves that are like cheerleaders of this archaic traditional routes, like sort of like issues. So I mean,
Mhm.
that's not to say that they are like oblivious of the what needs to be done, but it just makes us realize that sometimes it's not just men that are perpetrating inequality. Sometimes we find women as gatekeepers perpetrating these inequalities. So what we need to do is to work collectively as one and address all of these issues for a better world.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Kende. Men are allies. They are not here to compete with us. And I saw Timmy mention, like, yes, I'm your number one fan in the comment section. Yeah, thank you so much, Timmy. And absolutely, that's why we have this webinar today. And also, I like the fact that you mentioned that we need men to support women. We also need women to support women, and we also need women to support men so we can have a more stable world, because it's going to be a diversified world. Yes. So I quite agree that men have really been supportive and they have more to do. So I'm going to ask one more question. Um, in order for us to actually pivot and actually do great things, we need a lot of policy supports, so what are actionable steps that can be taken by policy makers and also key stakeholders to be able to drive this agenda of ensuring that women are supported, are given the right support, and also what policies can they put in place to ensure that we accelerate the actions that will eliminate the barriers we had earlier mentioned. So, Ruth, I'll go with you. You say something, and then Kende, if you have anything to say as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nancy. And I think I like data. I like data because it tells the stories that may commonly be missed. So I think when we're talking about policy, there's a policy that was suggested by the UN Women on gender disaggregated data reporting across all public and private tech initiatives. And I think this is a very strong starting point because the transparency ensures that gaps are visible and we are able to empower stakeholders to actually take action because they know the full story. And we can even go beyond data and also look at having more women participate in the implementation of such policies, such mandates, having more women participating in that process because it allows us to see ourselves reflected in the decisions that were taken to see these policies come to light. But also just going back to that data reporting, we are able to also see in terms and track the progress that we have taken over the past couple of years. We are also able to be accountable to the actions that we're taking towards involving women within the space. And when we're looking at transformation strategies, digital transformation strategies. There's the African Union digital transformation strategy that emphasizes also equality in the gender sector. But when we're looking at the implementation element and monitoring and tracking its success, we need that disaggregation of data for us to be able to ensure that progress is made. So I think the first step would be really to look at how do we create that environment that is allowing for us to collect this data to make decisions that are informed and not just thumbs up.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Kainde, do you have any words to add to that?
Yes, Nancy, and I'll try as much as possible brief. Just to say that in terms of um, how we're designing like interventional projects or programs to address these anomalies or to advance um, the rights of minority groups, I think it is important that we also use intersectional lens to kind of like observe some of the challenges that other minor groups like face. Take for instance, when we talk about women, we have like a diverse group of women. We have white women according to race. We have black women. We have other women of other colors. You know, everyone have their unique experiences. When you intersect, you know, they being women and they being of their different races, and when you also intersect it with maybe their financial status, or you intersect it with their educational level or exposure, or you now intersect it with their status in terms of migration, whether they are dominant in places of origin and etc., you find that all of these groups have different issues. So I think one of the biggest way to address all of these issues is to use intersectional lens and observe that my experience will be different from Ruth's experience. My Ruth's experience may be different from Nancy's experience, and how we use some programs or projects to address these individual issues. So if we do that, I think we'll be able to achieve more rather than just looking at things from holistic sense. And that takes me back to one of the major theme for my conversation today, which is on Black woman entrepreneurship in Iceland. You know, they have intersectional challenges which may or may not have been critically addressed by key stakeholders within the entrepreneurship ecosystem, particularly when we talk about migrant entrepreneurship here in Iceland.
Thank you so much for those great insights. Do we have any questions from our audience? You've been great so far. Thank you so much for joining. If we have any question, anyone, we'll just take one or two questions. So while we wait for the questions, I can't see any right now in the comment section. I'm seeing them all agreeing to all that we've said on this call. So it's been quite interesting. Do we have final words, Ruth, while we anticipate the questions coming in? Ruth, do you have any final words for the audience?
I think I have just two for those that are in the seasoned space where they have found themselves developed within this technology space. Contribute by volunteering your skills, volunteering, that knowledge sharing element, mentor someone, find a young person, find a young woman you can teach and transfer those skills. I think you will go a long way in terms of just realizing that impact and accelerating the action that we're trying to see. And then for those that are currently trying to find themselves and are currently building, just do it anyway. Even if it gets hard, really, really keep doing it and keep working at your craft and surround yourself with people that are able to see to help you see your vision and your goals come to light.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Kinda, any final words from you?
Yes, Nancy, thank you. I think my final words would be, first, I would encourage like women to continue to support women. There's no competition anywhere. I mean, we're all in this together to help each other, just like you said, Nancy. So every one of us need to like support each other. And I know, and I love to see. I've been seeing a lot of women supporting others, right? And I just want to intensify the core and require that we need to support ourselves more, and also like men supporting women as well, and also women supporting men as well, because it's not just a one-way thing, it has to be like a two-way thing, right? And aside from this, I think one other things I want to say is, in our individual levels, there are ways we can also accelerate the action. Take for instance, maybe we're looking at, also just like Ruth had said, using our voice, advocacy, maybe on social media platforms. You know, when you see a woman who is an entrepreneur, encourage your business. You know, give her a thumbs up, give her a share, give her a like. You know, you're actually encouraging her in that way, and then just
Absolutely.
encourage other girls around us to sort of like, have that confidence that they can do it, and
Yes.
if they put their foot forward.
Yes, yes, we can, and we'll keep shining like diamonds in the sky, you know. So thank you so much, Kehinde and Ruth. This has been super, super engaging. Indeed, no wonder you're trailblazers in your field. You've really done absolutely well by joining this panel session today and sharing your insights and your experience. To our unique audience, you've been amazing. We really value you and thank you for joining, and really appreciate all that you've mentioned in the comment section. We appreciate your support as well. And Timmy Obaseki, who is the CEO of Agile, we thank you so much for supporting women and making this webinar a reality today. And also to the entire management at Agile, really appreciate you all. Please, for the audience and those who are just coming across Agile for the first time, you can follow us on LinkedIn. The LinkedIn name is Agile Business Support Services Limited, and the Instagram handle is Agile Biz, B-I-Z. Agile Biz support. So please follow us, give us thumbs up, give us support when we post, and also patronize the service if you really have need, and also refer us to other vendors as well. So truly, it is International Women's Day. It is not actually a celebration, but it's a call to accelerate action and also break barriers. It's been a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining. And I am Nancy Olisekwe, and it was nice. Thank you so much. So this webinar will be ending in 3, 2, 1. But then you can just end it with a shout out to say Happy International Women's Day. Thank you, everyone.
Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day, and thank you for
Yeah,
having us.
thank you for
You're
having
welcome.
me.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone. Have a
Happy
pleasant
International
evening.
Women's Day
Thank you,
from all of us
Timmy.
at Agile.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Have a great evening. Thank you.